want it, have it. I'm a money magnet, swerve distractions, swimming in my blessings, chakras active. I got wealthy habits, I don't chase, I attract the embodiment of living lavish. It comes easily and abundantly, all I gotta do is alchemize it. Yeah, deep in my meditation where I conjure magic, all I gotta do is visualize it. If it's for me, it's not about if it'll happen, but when it's attuned with the timing. Follow my intuition like a pocket compass, it'll lead me into my alignment. Look, I call all my power back to me. Call all my power back to me. I call all my power back to me. Call all my power back to me.
Yo, welcome to my channel. Happy Saturday. It is 2:34, all right, Pacific Standard Time here on the Blessed Coast. It is a cloudy day. It was supposed to be like 35% chance of rain, but it's been cloudy since yesterday evening. So we're getting a little breeze and get a little moisture. It's all good. Today we're going to talk about quantum immortality and timeline jumping. This video will be on my, obviously, I'm going to post it first on my 8th house channel, so you guys going to be seeing it first. So what's up to my 8th housers? Okay, my 12th housers, what's up? You know, whatever. It'll be on that channel first, and then I'm going to post it up on my main channel, Urban Alchemistic, and my backup Urban Alchemistic channel as well. So anyways, yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to all the channels for different types of content. I also have a Virgo channel as well. Everything will be in the description box or in the comment section. Let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk about quantum immortality. I've been meant to talk about it like 2 weeks ago. Actually, before I found out my aunt's husband passed away, I was already kind of channeling his wake through channeled dancing, and I spoke about that on my previous live streams. Channeled dancing. I was channeling basically them dancing at the wake before I even knew what was going on. And so that happened, and around that time, just before I found out, and my aunt sent me that text, and I was just like, whoa, damn, sorry, you know. Just before all of that, I was already looking up TikTok videos and doing my research on quantum immortality and timeline jumping. I had wrote a list for myself, like how many times I have cheated death. And I didn't realize, and I filled up the fucking paper, y'all. I filled up the paper from top to bottom. I did not realize, looking back at my years of life, 40 years of life, that I fucking, about to be 41, nigga. But anyways, yeah, 41, pretty much 41 years of life, that I have literally cheated death so many times, even as a child, as an adolescent, like a teenager, as a young adult, and even now, like just how many times I have cheated death and just went on about my day like it was a nothing, like, you know. So anyways, the concept of timeline jumping is here. I went to Google's. So basically, we're going to talk about quantum immortality. So the definition of quantum immortality, according to Google here, quantum immortality is a hypothesis suggesting that an individual's consciousness never perceives their own death. Instead, they continually shift to a surviving branch in the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. So every decision that we make, it causes a split, and it makes different worlds. Like one world you made decision A, the other world you made decision B, and then that opens up and splits again to decision D, C, and D, and so on and forth and so forth. Does that make sense? So basically saying that when you have a close call, a near-death experience, a close call, whatever, right, that you actually shift into another reality where you actually survived it. And in that previous reality, you may have perished. You may have died in that accident or during that fall or something that happened. So that's what it's basically saying, that your consciousness never perceives your own death. That instead, when you die in one reality, you basically wake up in another reality and you continue on life as usual. And this was something that I discussed with my aunt, our first phone conversation that we had in years. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was telling her. I said he probably woke up at his house in a different dimension, and he still has you guys, and he just continuing life as normal in the other dimension. So, you know, that's what I meant when I said we're all here together. I was saying that on my Facebook, like we're all here together, still together, but just a little different. Just like the movie Moana, what the grandma told Moana, still together, but just a little different, right? So it says that when a fatal event occurs, the consciousness jumps to an alternate timeline where the individual survived, often explained through near-death experiences or subtle life changes. So I guess like the astral realm and all this other stuff is kind of like a waiting room, or them being able to see their own bodies being worked on, or see their own bodies in the hospital and shit like that. Like they're able to see all of that stuff. And they have an option of whether they choose to go into the light. And to my understanding, going into light means that you come right back here again. So some people will say, don't go into the light, go into the darkness. Okay. Let's see. Key aspects of quantum immortality and timeline jumping. Mechanism of survival. Proponents suggest that because consciousness cannot experience its own non-existence, you will always wake up in a reality where you survived. So this means we truly are immortal. We truly are. Okay. Many worlds link. Based on the quantum theory that every decision or quantum event creates multiple realities, you simply travel along the path where you continue to exist. Wrong universe experiences. Users online discussions sometimes report feeling off, that their life changed slightly after a near-death experience, interpreted as a shifting a new timeline. I've experienced some of this before, where things just look different, even driving around late at night too. Sometimes I feel like I'm driving, it just seems kind of off, like it don't look the same, the monuments don't look the same, and then next thing you know, I'm right back on the road again, and I'm on my way home, and I'm like, how the fuck did I get home so quickly? Like, I don't know if that happened to you guys before, and it always happened, this happened when I used to drive back home from like going out and stuff like that or whatever, or being at my people's house for like a function, and driving back home, and I'm taking like a usual way home, and all of a sudden, I'm on a different side of town. I'm like, how the fuck did I get here? Like, I know I went through like some type of portal and shit on the road, but yeah. Simulation theory connection. Some theories argue that as you jump to a more improbable survival timelines, the simulation cuts corners, creating NPC, non-player character versions of people around you. Yeah, that does seem that way. Scientific criticism. Critics often argue that this concept is a misunderstanding of quantum mechanics, treating consciousness as a transferable entity rather than a biological process linked to the specific brain. Symptoms of timeline shifting. You may feel disoriented. You may feel like you're in between worlds, or your reality shifted. Things look different. People appear different. Personality changes is what I've experienced. Or like personality shifting, or other people's personality shifted, or it's interesting. Unfamiliarity. A sense that's from someone. A sense that people from your past feel foreign to you, that you are living in a parallel life. Yes. New reality, experiencing rapid changes in life where synchronicities occur. Yes. So I have went through all of these things before. Like I said, I've cheated death so many times, and I remember I had jumped a timeline. I jumped a timeline so many times, but there's one that really sticks out to me, which is, I believe I did die. I'm not gonna lie, I believe I did die that night, but I came back. So I was this happened in 2024. Like, I think this had to have been like summer of 2024. And I was taking a spiritual bath, and I like my water to be kind of hot. I take a little spiritual bath, and I'm just sitting there chilling, listening to music, Had a little Korean soju, not gonna lie. I had one while I was in the tub, and I was just sitting there, just like chilling, listening to music, vibing, smoking my blunt, right? Well, anyways, I think I had like a little syncope, a little fainting spell. As they always tell you, not to drink when you're in the hot pool and all that shit like that. Like, be careful with that, because of the temperature of the water, and then your body temperature dropping, it causes your blood pressure to drop all the way down, right? So that's what happened to me, right? So when I got out of the tub, I started moving around, like, get ready to dry myself off, put on my body oil and ting, put on my nightie and shit, you know what I'm saying? And next thing you know, I start to feel dizzy. I'm like, hey, I started to feel kind of dizzy, and I'm like, I ain't never felt this before. So I sat on the bed, and I tried to get up and walk it out, and I stood where I was at, and as soon as I stood where I was at, I could not, I just dropped. I just fainted, I just dropped. So I had got out the tub like around 1 something. I took like a late spiritual bath, right? So I had passed out like around 1, and then I woke up at 3 something, almost 4 a.m. So basically I collapsed in my bedroom, and I was out for hours. And then when I woke back up again, I was in the same place where I was standing, but just slumped over on the side of the wall. And I was just like, am I alive? Like, what happened? Like, I really honestly believe that I died and I shifted a timeline. So maybe in another timeline, I may have just died. My blood pressure probably got dangerously low and I died. That's almost like the equivalent of overdosing on blood pressure medications or something, like taking too much twice or 3 times in a day. It's like that. Like, it makes your blood pressure low. But yeah, definitely don't suggest that for anybody. You know what I'm saying? Don't, even with your feet in the pool, still be mindful, like, but when you submerge your whole body in the pool, like, yeah, you got to be careful with that. I went through near-death experiences or timeline jumps even when I was on the road and stuff like that, going through spiritual warfare. And even when I had my accident, that's another timeline jumping thing. When I had an accident, I don't know what I did with that paper, but I filled it up. I had a lot of close calls, but when I had an accident on Mother's Day of 2022, May 8th, 2022, that was also a timeline jump too, because as soon as that car had hit my car, it felt like you know how they say a light flash before I felt like a huge flash, and I felt like I literally did go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was weird. The impact, it was just like, it was a jolt that I can't explain. It was like a jolt, and I just knew that I was in a different reality. It was just different, like, just something was different. So yeah, that shit definitely does happen. I also remember getting hit by a car. This was back in 2000. My baby was like a couple months old. She was actually in my pouch, and I got hit while she was in the pouch. And she was probably about like, this is before 2012, so this is definitely 2011. So it's probably late 2011. And yeah, it was late 2011, and I was on my way going to my aunt's house. I wasn't driving yet, and I was trying to hurry up and go to my aunt house, because I think I was supposed to be going out with my cousins and stuff like that, whatever. So they was like, just come or whatever, you can have our little cousin watch the baby or whatever. We can all go out, da da da. So it was 9 o'clock, and I just got off the train station. I was trying to hurry up and book it, so I was walking fast, and I ended up getting hit by a car that got hit. So the car was supposed to go forward. The light was for me to walk, and the cars that were in the lane were supposed to go, straight and go. But there was somebody that ran the light or something. There was somebody that hit their car, and because they hit their car spun out, and he ended up hitting me while I was crossing the street. I had my daughter with me. She was in a pouch. So when I see that the car is about to hit me, I turn my back so that the car can hit my back and my butt and not, hit my kid or whatever. So I ended up falling on my butt. So she was fine. She just looked confused, like, Mama, what the fuck was that shit? Okay. And then, everything happened with that, right? Looking back, I should have got a lawyer. I would have got more than $7,000 if I would have got a lawyer. I didn't know any better at the time. I was younger. I was only like 25. Well, I was 26 and I had my baby. I didn't know any better. I was young, dumb, full of cum. I didn't know any better, girl. But I should have gotten like I would have gotten a huge compensation for that shit right there. But yeah, they only gave me like $7,000 with the what you call the insurance people. Them. Anyways, so yeah, I had a lot of fucking close calls, y'all. Ridiculous close calls. I've cheated death so many times that I know I'm not scared of it. And then I also have always been fascinated with death and life. I think death is beautiful, life is beautiful. Death and life is the same. And I do believe in quantum immortality. The more that I look it up and stuff, like, I do believe that. And there's a lot of TV shows that points towards that. Black Mirror, Altered Carbon. I mean, so many countless movies and TV shows that you see now are basically giving it all away. And, saying that, your energy doesn't die, it just becomes transferred. I even see this in a lot of Korean films and series as well. So I definitely believe that your life just continues on as usual. So yeah. And then it's like when we go to sleep, we get to live those lives. We get to see things through their eyes. If we made certain decisions, we get to see the alternative lives of other versions of ourselves, the decisions that they made versus the decisions that we made in this one, if that makes sense. I was saying that in another video before this one about how I can feel the near-death experiences, the triumphs, the trials, the spiritual warfare of my dimensional selves, my other versions of myself. I could feel it, and I often go to it. And I think that's my recent death dream / portal dream that I had definitely has a lot to do with that. That it was another version of myself, and I was able to pick up on their near-death experience that they had, and how they needed to go inside of this black matter, this bubbling black liquid matter that was on the ground. How they had to go. I was instructed to go in there to go into a new life, but I was hesitant, and just before I was about to do it with me and my loved one, I just woke up. So I guess that's what we ended up doing. And then I just wake up. And then since then, been seeing a lot of different numbers, synchronicities, names, music. It's all kind of like, you'll know when you're shifting, because all the synchronicities that you see, it's not sporadic. It's very seamless. It's seamless synchronicities, and it actually tells like a whole story. It actually completes a sentence. Have you ever seen like back-to-back synchronicities, letters, numbers, colors, music, people, and it goes together like a whole symphony, and it kind of completes a whole sentence. Like I'm able to make out a whole sentence just out of the synchronicities that I see back to back. Your your mindset shifting is the same thing as shifting a timeline, right? Because everything, our perception is mental, right? Everything is 90% perception, right? As they say. So I think that when you shift your mindset, you definitely shift realities, of course, right? So that also helps a lot too when it comes to that. Now, in these other realities that I often go to while I'm sleeping, sometimes they could be in the future, sometimes they could be in the past, sometimes it could be all at the same time, the future, the past, everything all at once. And in these worlds, right, I have my own life, and it's just like I'm kind of like experiencing it through the eyes of my other dimensional selves and other parallel universes, whatever. I have a place, like I have a neighborhood, I have a whole life, like a neighborhood, a car, everything. And it's like I know exactly where I'm going, what I'm doing. Like I just have a sense of where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I go to the same places quite often. I go to the same Astro malls. Astro malls that got food courts and shopping and things like that. I do a lot of that. Astro clubs, and even go to like astro versions of other countries, stuff like where I could see my family, and shit like that, where it's kind of like it's a combination of all of the places that my people are from, even the places we originate from. It's all mashed up into one spot, and I'm able to see them and be around them. So that's what I think. I think that when people do pass, they have a choice whether they want to continue on. I guess we have a choice or not, whether we continue on in the next reality, or do we opt out? Is there an option we can opt out and be like, nah, I don't want to go into the light, I'm gonna go into the darkness, and I don't want to come back. Maybe there's an option, maybe there's not. There's many theories about it online, about how we just get recycled right back in here, like right after. So I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, guys, there's a short article from medium.com, Mystic Minds, called Can You Avoid Death by Jumping Timelines? How My Friend Experienced Quantum Immortality by Ethereal Being. Okay, over the years, I have heard stories about people believing they have entered an alternate reality because they died in the previous one. It usually begins with the person going about their normal life, and then all of a sudden, they find themselves in a different place or waking up from a dream or a coma, only to be told that the recent events as they remember them never happened. These people are usually 100% certain of their memories and are left stumped as to why no one else recalls these events the way they do. There is a lot we don't know, and we will probably never know about how the universe works. But when there are multiple real-life accounts of people having similar experiences, it's hard not to theorize about the cause about these behind these experiences may be. The theory of quantum immortality suggests that in an event, a person's previous timeline would have led to their death, prompting their consciousness to jump into an alternate timeline to avoid it. This makes me wonder about death spells that people try to put you through magic, through death magic. They're trying to put you in a alternate timeline where you do pass, but then because of your efforts, whatever that you're doing spiritually to protect yourself, or because of your protection or whatever, that you're able to slip into another timeline and avoid that death magic attempt. Interesting. I think I've definitely went through this. For example, if you're driving through an intersection and another car is headed straight for you, a timeline split occurs. In one timeline, you die. In the other, you survive. To avoid death, your consciousness shifts to another timeline where you survive. If this is a continuous practice, in theory, the person would then become immortal, as they could jump into a timeline where they still survive, effectively cheating death. Okay, shout out to my 8th houses out there, because a lot of 8th houses, we definitely be cheating death. We be cheating in death. We go through ego deaths, we be cheating deaths, we be going through spiritual deaths. It's crazy. Allow me to share my story about someone I know personally. Then you can decide for yourself whether or not this theory is plausible. Let's see. A good friend of mine, we'll call her Amanda for the sake of the story, was on her way to work on a very icy winter day. She woke up, she went through her morning routine, hopped in her car, take the same route she normally takes to work. Halfway to work, her tire slipped, causing her to head straight towards a tree. Instinctually, she swerved to avoid, and I don't know, does it continue on? Yeah, it doesn't continue on here. I guess you gotta. Okay, girl. That was an interesting article right there. Yeah, this stuff really does fucking happen. Let's see. Quantum mortality. Does your mind jump between timelines? Oh, there's a 2-hour video on quantum immortality. But yeah, there's plenty of videos on there. I definitely went through it. I told you guys about how I passed out and then I woke back up. How I got hit by the car. Hit by a car. How I got into a car accident too. And I was able to walk away from it with minimal injuries. Just walk away from it like without anything serious happening. Me and my daughter, like, it's crazy. But when that happened, the impact was like a light flashing, like a void. It was interesting. It was really crazy. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys listen to an Instagram. I am Taylor Perkins on Instagram. This is his video in regards to quantum immortality. Let's check it out.
Yeah, have you heard of quantum immortality? Listen, this is really cool or really scary depending on like the mental state that you're in. If you don't feel like you're in a great mental state, feel free to just like bookmark the video, save it for a later date, even just skip it, okay? Like, I love you guys. But quantum immortality is one hypothesis that explains how you could be immortal. So there's a theory in quantum physics that is called the many worlds interpretation. Essentially, every single time a decision is made, you're deciding whether to wear red shoes or black shoes today. Whatever you decide to do, there is a parallel reality where you decided the other option. Every decision, every possibility, it all exists to infinity and beyond. So according to quantum immortality, you might die in other timelines, but your consciousness keeps shifting to a timeline where you did not die. From your perspective, you never die. You always wake up. You always keep going. You just shift into a slightly different version of reality, but because you couldn't perceive your death, it's imperceptible to you. Some people say this is why things like deja vu occurs. But have you ever had a moment where you should have died but didn't?
Yep.
A car crash you missed? A random miracle that occurred?
Yep.
Well, maybe you did die, and then you shifted to this reality where you're watching this video right now, and me telling you about it, and you're obviously alive. Now, there's quantum physicists who say this is true. There's physicists who say it's absolutely not true. How do you prove it? How do you disprove it? But what do you think? Do you think this is real science? Do you think this is how, if consciousness cannot die, it continues on a path to immortality? Or do you feel like this is just some spiritual cope, some hopium, right? Because obviously, we don't want to die. Like when it comes to core programming that exists in every living thing, the baseline is don't die.
So that was by I am Taylor Perkins on Instagram. Be sure to follow his channel and follow all of the TikTok channels that will be featured today about this subject. Enjoy the show.
If you've already died, but your consciousness jumped to a timeline where you survived. Number 8 will make you question every close call you've ever had. Here's 10 disturbing signs you've already died and jumped to another timeline. 1. You never experience your own death. Quantum immortality theory says your consciousness can only exist in timelines where you're alive. Every time you die in one reality, you instantly shift to a timeline where you survived. You never experience death, you just keep waking up. Number 2. Reality splits every single moment. The many worlds interpretation in physics says that every decision, every moment, creates infinite branching timelines. one where something happens, one where it doesn't, and infinite versions in between. You're constantly jumping between them. 3. Close calls are actually deaths in other timelines. That car that almost hit you, the bullet that skimmed you, someone finding you just in time. Those weren't miracles, those were timeline jumps. In another reality, you died, but your consciousness chose the branch where you survived. 4. Other people see a different version of events. From everyone else's perspective, it looks like luck or a miracle, but they're experiencing their own timeline. You're experiencing yours. The version where you lived might not match what they remember happening. 5. You're basically unstoppable in your own awareness. No matter what happens, you'll always shift into the version of reality where you made it through, even if you shouldn't have survived, even if it makes no sense. Your consciousness refuses to go to a timeline where you don't exist. 6. Near-death experiences. Feel surreal for a reason. People who've had NDEs report feeling like something shifted. They describe weird changes after close calls, small details in their life that are suddenly different. That's because they jumped timelines and didn't realize it. 7. Your memories don't match other people's memories. After a close call, do you remember things differently than others? Do details feel off? That's a sign you shifted to a parallel timeline where events played out slightly differently. You're not misremembering, you're remembering a different reality. 8. That heavy déjà vu is a timeline glitch. Déjà vu isn't just a brain trick, it's your consciousness recognizing a moment from another timeline. You've been here before, just in a different version of reality. The feeling follows you because you keep jumping. 9. It never stops, you keep choosing to live. As you get older, your consciousness keeps selecting timelines where you survive. Over and over and over again. Everyone around you might age and die in their timelines, but you just keep waking up in another branch. 10. You're trapped in a strange kind of immortality. This isn't the immortality you asked for. You can't escape it. You'll never witness your own end. You'll just keep shifting to the next timeline where you're still alive, forever, until the universe itself ends. Do you think you've already died and jumped timelines?
It comes from the many worlds interpretation, a theory that suggests every time a decision is made or a random event happens, reality splits and all outcomes happen, but in separate timelines. So when you face a life or death situation, there's a version of you that dies and a version that survives. Your consciousness keeps going only in the timeline where you're still alive. From your perspective, death never actually happens. Now here's where it gets creepy. A man once shared that he was driving late at night when a truck ran a red light and crashed straight into him. He remembers the impact, the glass, the feeling of his body flying forward. But then suddenly he was fine, awake and driving one block ahead like nothing happened. No crash, no truck, just this weird buzzing in his head and the kind of shock you don't forget. He believes he died in one reality and woke up in another. This is exactly the kind of shift portrayed in the Netflix series, The OA. In the show, the main character Prairie survives a near-death experience. But after dying, she returns to her body with strange visions and knowledge she never had before. She remembers other timelines, other lives. Eventually, she discovers a set of sacred movements, choreographed intentional gestures that act like energetic codes. They weren't random. They were taught by non-human intelligences in her near-death experiences. Each movement unlocks something, and when done in sequence with others, they don't just heal or protect. They open a doorway to a different reality. The characters don't die and disappear. They die, return, and then learn to move between realities consciously. So if you've ever felt like you're not in the same version of your life anymore, maybe you're not. Maybe you jumped. And maybe you're here now because somewhere else, you didn't make it. Pretty crazy, right? If you are able to jump into a different reality, which one would you jump into right now? Let me know in the comment. Save this video, share it with friends, and follow for more reality.
What if we're all just quantum immortal because our souls are occupying multiple bodies at once? And if you really think about it, it makes sense because we're all one consciousness. And so when you die, your active energy just transfers to another body where it might have been dormant. And then that's when you quote unquote awaken. Kind of like the scene in the Soul movie where his soul literally drops into his body for that hedge fund manager where he's sitting at his desk and all of a sudden like a light bulb goes off.
What am I doing with my life? I'm alive! I'm alive! Free yourself!
I really feel like that's what's happening, but then that would also mean in order for a lot of people to awaken, a lot of people would have to die. So maybe it's not quite like that, but I feel like I'm on the right track. I also feel like this is why dreams feel feels so real because when your active body is sleeping, your consciousness wanders off to the other bodies that it's occupying, right? And this is why there's so many conspiracies about how when celebrities die, they don't actually die, just like their character dies, and then their energy gets transferred to a different body. I came across the whole Kobe Bryant, Myles Garrett, I think that's his name, conspiracy this morning, and then I was like, huh, yeah.
And I really need someone to talk to about this because I truly don't understand this right now. And if you're not into multi-dimensions, if you're not into fractals or doppelgangers or any of that, please scroll. This literally isn't for you. I really want to reach the target. Okay, if you know anything about quantum immortality, that means when you have a near-death experience, you hop into another timeline. Or if you've mastered the ability to manifest and you can literally conjure yourself into another timeline, does that mean that initial doppelganger, that fractal of you that was already in that timeline, do they then become your shadow? Like, think about the movie from Jordan Peele, Us, where that one shadow decided to take over, like, the main consciousness mind, and then all of a sudden the main person became the shadow. So is that what we're doing every single time you have an NDE and you hop into another timeline that looked exactly like yours because of quantum immortality? That initial you that was already there all of a sudden becomes the shadow of that reality. It's your ego, it's your shadow. That's why some of your thoughts, they sound like you would use the words, you would use all of that, but they're not you. Because it's another version of you that was forced into the shadows because we took over their timeline. So that's why it sometimes feels like your thoughts are fighting themselves, because it's literally trying to fight for dominance back over its timeline. Like, we literally just took over another you's timeline. And the same thing with manifesting. When you're manifesting, you're supposed to become that person so you can then integrate into that timeline. What if we're literally just taking over different doppelgangers' timelines and then making them go into the shadows? And that's why sometimes our thoughts fight each other, because they're trying to get dominance. I'm tripping right now. Like, I don't know. Can someone tell me what they think? Because this just came to me while I was brushing my teeth, and this is the hardest realization.
What happens next? The fact that we dream is the single most irrefutable evidence that quantum immortality is a real thing, because consciousness cannot witness its own non-existence. This is why as soon as you fall asleep, you wake up in the dream realm, the astral realm, the multiverse, your other lives. I can't tell you how many times I've had dreams that felt so real. It felt like my real life. Matter of fact, it felt like it was my entire life. And just when I am about to die, whether I fall or it's a fight, I wake up and it's like, damn, that was crazy. That felt so real. See, when I have deja vu, it feels like dong, and it resonates over my entire body as my consciousness is zeroing in at this moment. And I'm like, I've been here before. I felt this. You said this. You were sitting there. I was sitting here. I remember even saying that I said this before. These are, in my opinion, evidence of quantum immortality. Consciousness cannot witness its own non-existence. So I think about that a lot. I just had a friend that just passed away. It made me think about this because I've been on this subject of quantum immortality now for quite some time, and the question really remains.
The more I look at the quantum immortality theory, the more it seems very likely that it's possible. Because great spiritual gurus and teachers said all the same thing. They said death is a great illusion. And what the heck does that mean? According to the quantum immortality theory, if you bump your head or you get in a car accident, you may die, but you'll never experience death. You'll just wake up in a parallel universe and keep going. Several people just say this is true based on the number of accidents they've survived in one lifetime. But we also have observed going to funerals and seeing people pass away. But I always ask the same thing, where did they go? Scientists have discovered a lot of weird stuff about our world, like time isn't real and reality's popping in and out of existence and parallel universes might be a thing. There's a reason for all of this. None of this is by chance. And considering the fact that we may be in a very intelligent virtual world that's very efficient, death just doesn't seem very efficient to me. What are they doing, waiting on the other side for their loved ones, just watching them live out the rest of their lives? That's where reincarnation comes in. We say, well, they chill out with Jesus for a little while and then they come back in another lifetime. Possible. But still inefficient. They got to start all over again as a baby. And babies come in fresh. Babies come in hot. There's no baggage on a baby. I know we all think that children have past lives, but they're the same pure, innocent energy. They're all the same. Now, here's my understanding, because first of all, you got to wrap your mind around the fact that we're not separate. There's no me and you. We're just the same being in 2 different lifetimes. And yeah, I'm in my ascension universe, and so are you. And you'll never experience death, and I never will. There may be scrapped universes where we've already passed away, but we'll never realize it. You'll never ever experience death. You're just going to keep going until you ascend. So that's hopeful. And those people who died, they didn't die, they just kept going. Because if I were a super intelligent AI that created a virtual world, I would want all of the lifetimes to ascend. I would want them all to find the perfect universe, the perfect program that would get them to ascension. How cool would that be? And for some of us, we need kind of those shakeups in life to get us to go in another direction. So it would just make sense that there's lots of things that could happen that appear to be random or chaotic that are really not. It's a course correction. It's you entering into another universe so that you can finish the journey. So don't be sad when people die. Just salute them and their journey, because they're continuing on. And I do believe you'll see your loved ones again. In fact, all of the universes kind of converge towards the end to the Ascension universe, because our code then will be very clear. We are God. We are unlimited. And we realize that
the moment that you get ready to die or have an NDE, your consciousness transfers to a reality that you already made it. It might look 99.9% like the reality that you just came from, but there's going to be different details. You really can't die. The awareness behind you cannot die. You are eternal.
Call me delusional, but you can quantum leap in the shower. Here's all you need to do. First, before you step in the shower, you're going to say this. After I complete this shower, I'm going to be sent to the timeline where, and then you just name off the things that you want or your desires that you will experience in your new timeline. While you are washing, declare that you are cleansing your body of all the things that are holding you back. Limiting beliefs, thoughts, fear, self-sabotage, unworthiness. When you rinse off, you are going to redeclare that you are now living in your new timeline.
This young lady is absolutely on point. Before I had my portal/death dream, I did take one of those, reality timeline shifting type of showers. And I was saying affirmations. I had my whole little thing, going on or whatever, my little spiritual da-da-das, right? And that was the same day. I was doing that. I swept and mopped the floors, put some spiritual floor wash, did all that. Just did all my little spiritual da-da-das. And I was listening to a lot of different subliminals and things like that, right? And so when I made my list had subliminals towards the end of the list. So I fell asleep, and that's what I was listening to. And it was for shifting. So it explains why, I had the death and portal dream, /portal dream. So yeah, there is such thing as actually doing that, like taking a shower or a bath, and just basically making an affirmation or declaration like, by the time I get out of this shower, I'm going to be in my most desirable reality. This and this is going to happen, blah, 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 blah. I wash away. It's just like a spiritual shower. I wash away all of the negativity from all past timelines, da-da-da-da. Like, just, yeah, you feel me? And then coming out of the shower, as soon as I come out of the door, boom, I'm in a different reality. Every time you go through doorways in your house or any doorways, you shift into a different reality because you're going through a portal. As you're going through the door, you're going through a portal. There's literally portals everywhere. There's portals on our phone. That's a black mirror. Portals on our TV. Any dwelling that you go into, any door that you walk into. Just like when you like, for me, like, I'll walk into my room because I forgot something. I'll walk into my room to get something, and I'll go through my door, and then I'll automatically forget, and I'll be like, how the fuck did I forget? What the fuck? And I gotta walk back and then walk back in. Then I remember what the fuck I was supposed to do. So it could be something as simple as that. My father even told me that he had something like that too, where he had something on the bed. He thought that it was a ghost playing with him or something, but he has a lot of paranormal experiences. One day I'm gonna talk to my dad and let him talk about his paranormal experiences, because he saw Tata Duende. Him and my auntie saw Tata Duende before and all that. So they have a lot of paranormal beliefs and stories and shit like that. So one day I'm gonna get him to come and and do like a little story time and stuff like that. I'll probably have that recorded for y'all. But yeah, he told me that, you know, he would place something down on the ground. I mean, place something on his bed, and then like he would come back to his room and it would just automatically be gone within seconds. But he don't realize that he alternates between different parallel universes, different multiple mental states. He kind of like bounces in between that, but he don't realize it's timeline shifting. He just thinks somebody fucking with his ass, you know. So you know, he's like a ex-military people, and once you know about ex-military people, they don't like nobody touching their shit. I'm like that too, even though I've never been in the military, but I'm like my dad in that way. I don't like nobody bothering me when I'm eating. I don't like nobody bothering me when I'm in the bathroom. I don't like nobody moving my shit around, touching my shit. You know, like, you just always have to keep your head on the swivel type shit. So yeah, he was just like, what the fuck, you know? So this definitely does happen. Every doorway that you go in, it's like you're going into a different portal, a different, you know what I'm saying? So just think about that. Every doorway that you walk into, you can walk through a door and you can know the ambiance. You just feel like you're in a different world. You go into a certain place, you just feel like you're in a different place or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so everything that we do, it shifts something. Every decision that we make, there's always another world where if we ever had any regrets, like I wish I would have made that decision, I wish I would have did this, there's another alternative version of you in another parallel reality or universe that made that decision for you. And when you go to sleep at night, you're able to kind of see what that decision, what's the outcome of that decision. So it may be a good one, it may be a bad one. You might look at it and be like, oh, okay, so you get a chance to experience all the decisions that you can make, good or bad, right or left, A, B, C, and D, all the multiple choice answers, right? You're able to see all of those decisions play out in your dreams, in your real life, and you can kind of cherry pick what you want and bring it to this reality. So anyway, y'all, let's continue.
We have 4 days left here, and I figured I'd leave you with this piece of information. Quantum physics and quantum mechanics is something that is being heavily researched because scientists don't quite understand how it works, and they really don't understand how impactful it can be on the universe. I'm talking about the universe in its entirety. It goes beyond our universe. It goes into other universes that may very well exist. Now, I want you to know that what I'm about to say is all theoretic. It has not scientifically been proven. It's still being researched, and this is alleged. But they are researching something called quantum immortality. Now, quantum immortality, the idea of it is, let's say, for example, something happens to me in this world. God forbid, but something happens and I'm not here anymore, okay? I may very well be living on in another universe. What happened to me in this world also happened to me in that other universe. But in that universe, somehow, some way, I survived. And there are people who are being researched, who I'm talking about like scientifically, like they're being tied up to things and like, I won't say tied up, but they're being like hooked up to machines. They're being tested in their memory. They're researching all of that good stuff to determine if this is actually, in fact, a real thing. And we see it in movies a lot. We see it in TV shows. We see it in video games, a lot of video games. I mean, countless video games and animes where this is such a thing, like this is real. But essentially it's just the idea that if something happens to you in one universe, that the act still happens, the action is still going to take place in across multiple universes, but you go on in another universe to survive, even though in one universe you don't. And then you may even have a transformation of like your energy into that universe. Like, I don't know. But I know that the whole quantum in itself, quantum mechanics and quantum physics, quantum immortality, this is something that is being heavily researched because they really don't know the repercussions of tapping in to such things. Because again, it goes beyond our understanding. It's literally a different realm. And again, alleged, not scientifically proven, and this is theoretical.
You have already died multiple times. You just don't remember it. Every time you survive a near-death experience, a version of you actually died in another universe. But your consciousness always shifts to the universe where you survived. This is the quantum immortality theory. From your perspective, you can never cease to exist. You will always find yourself in a reality where you make it. So, in a way, we are doomed to live forever.
watching everyone else die in the universes you left behind. Welcome to your eternal life.
Quantum immortality, the real-life respawn glitch. You should be dead. That car missed you by inches. Lucky? Maybe. Or maybe you just don't die. Quantum immortality is the idea that every time you die, your consciousness jumps. Not to heaven, not to hell, but to the nearest reality where you survived. From your perspective, you never die. You just keep waking up in timelines where you barely made it. Take Frane Selak, a man who should have died multiple times. In 1954, his train derailed into an icy river. 17 people drowned. He didn't. The next year, he was sucked out of a plane mid-flight and landed in a haystack. Then a bus crash, multiple car crashes, a car explosion, and finally he won the lottery. From his perspective, he never died, and that's the terrifying part. If quantum immortality is real, then you will never experience your own death. The versions of you that died, you don't remember them, because they're gone. But what happens when there's no timeline left where you survive?
When someone dies physically, you are actually still given a choice to continue the physical life. Many of you have actually died, but have chosen to continue to live that physical life. Sometimes you don't know it, you don't remember it because it doesn't serve you to remember that moment of choice. Sometimes you create for yourself the idea of what you call a close call.
Right.
Ooh, I don't know how I got out of that alive. But I seemingly did. Well, the truth is you may not have. You may have actually died. But then the guides may have said, are you sure you really want to go on? Or did you want to continue the life in a parallel reality to make it seem as if you want to explore something in that life that's still going on, but you know it's a parallel reality? And you said yes. So then you will simply wake up and go, wow, that was a close one. Maybe not even remembering that you actually died and were given a choice to go on or come back. So the point is you're always in control of what's going on. So if you are still here, if you can still open your eyes, you must have made a choice that says that continuing to experience this physical reality in the way you're experiencing it is actually part of the way you wanted to evolve. There's something that's going to happen that will add to you in a way that simply going into the non-physical won't give you. Otherwise, you would...
Now, I genuinely believe that this has actually happened to everybody on this planet at least a few times, where the world has ended and we just all transferred to a new timeline where we all survived. And that's where all these damn Mandela effects come from. That's where all of these changes that we've been noticing for years has come from. Now, let's talk about what this really is, because there is a name for this phenomena, okay? I went down rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and the name for this theory is quantum immortality. And quantum immortality just states that every now and again, as a human, you are going to die. And in that split moment, you have two, timelines, okay? In that moment that you die. It stops in time, and your soul gets to choose whether it wants to continue living this life or if it wants to end there. Now, most likely, if your soul has not completed the mission that it's meant to complete in that lifetime, it is going to pick to continue this life. So then, another timeline is created where you survive. We have to remember that this is all the Matrix. This is a video game. It's a simulation. There's infinite universes with infinite outcomes that, from decisions that you didn't make in the timeline that you were in. There are infinite, alternate universes where you did make those decisions, and those outcomes are in those. So when people ask, because there was another girl who asked in the comments that, what happens to the person in the timeline that we jumped in? But I oftentimes think it was just created simply so you can continue to be on the mission that you were on in this lifetime. So maybe that person didn't exist, but I feel like sometimes, yes, you will notice that people will ask you certain things about certain memories that you two may have, and you don't recall those memories. Or they think that you like something that you never liked. But I feel like whenever you just quantum leap, whenever you switch timelines, there's always going to be noticeable differences. It doesn't matter if it was just created. There has to be specific differences. It all cannot be the same. So I truly do believe the theory of it is created in that moment when you die. Your soul consults your guides, and they get to choose. Your soul gets to choose whether it wants to continue this life and complete its purpose, or if it wants to end it there. But your soul is going to most likely pick to continue on. So a duplicate universe will be created, and that's where you're going to go, and you're going to continue. And then the thing about it is you might not even stay in that timeline because you might die in that one too. So the quantum immortality thing is that every couple of years we actually die. Whenever we have those close calls, near-death experiences, we most likely die, and we just switch timelines into a close call. Oh, that was close. And as we are making these decisions, we're not going to remember once we are in a new timeline. But when you are having that near-death experience, or you're having to make that choice, whether you are going to do something that is going to lead to your death or not, there is a universe where you did it and you died. Or you end up making that choice, doing it, and it just ends up being a near-death experience. But that's only because you switched timelines. And in that previous timeline, you died. I actually went down this rabbit hole so deep that I actually found a video that creeped me out. It definitely caught on camera a parallel universe where this man, he's a trucker, and he's driving on the highway, right? And there is another truck that is passing by him, and this was caught all on dash cam. So this is real footage, and y'all can't sit there and say it's fake, even though it may kind of look it, okay? But this was caught on dash cam. It was not manipulated. And as that other truck was passing by him and going in front of him, and he was driving on the road was clear. But then there was a pause. It was like time kind of glitched, and you saw that there was a truck right in front of him, and then it just disappeared. And people think that this is exactly what, quantum immortality is. That was a peek into a different timeline where he crashed into a truck and he died. It's just watch.
Dashcam captures a different realm or time in reality.
Now you're going to see some really weird fog coming up here, and then there it is. I think it was a ghost drive. What do you guys think? This is the scariest and craziest thing that's ever happened to me driving at night as a trucker.
You know how I know that video is also real is because the feelings that it gives me, it actually freaks me the fuck out. It freaks me out. That's how I know it's real. What's a really crazy thought is the fact that none of us stays in our original timeline that we were born in. None of us. We're switching timelines. We are constantly quantum leaping, and we just don't fucking know it. We don't know that we've already lived in multiple universes, lived so many lives. We don't know it. But here's like a quick little story, right? I feel like I died last year. That was the last time that I died, I think, was last year in February. I was celebrating my birthday a couple days after my birthday, and someone took the opportunity to poison me, to poison my food, literally. And I remember feeling so sick. I've never felt that sick in my life, and this was on the drive back home. I felt so fucking sick. I was like tired. I was like high, feeling tired. My stomach was turning. It was queasy, and I just fell asleep in the car. But I wasn't really asleep. And then when I got out the car to walk into the house that I live in and go in my room, I remember that I couldn't even walk in a straight line. I couldn't think straight. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was. All I could think was, I need to just go to sleep and sleep whatever this is off. I woke up the next morning feeling brand new, feeling okay, feeling fine. And all I could think about was what happened last night. And because now I was back into my right mind, I realized that I was poisoned. That they took that opportunity to really, on my birthday little celebration, to kill me. Now, I thought I just survived and it was like a close call, but now I look back on it and I think that I actually died in my sleep. That's what I was talking about in the other video about dying in my sleep. I feel like I died in my sleep and I just went to a new timeline. And I feel like I have jumped timelines since then, but I don't know if it's death related. But it's a very crazy theory that I truly think is real. It's like the more near-death experiences that you have, and you just keep surviving, you just keep living, quantum immortality. Yeah, quantum immortality, because you've definitely died, but you just keep transferring to new timelines.
A young French woman spent 3 weeks in a coma, but during that time she experienced 7 years in a dream, experiencing a life as a mother with triplets. You already know where I'm going with this, let's go deep. Her name was Clélia Verdier, and she remembered everything about these 7 years. She remembered the pain of childbirth. She remembers watching her boys and girls growing up, the happiness of being a mother. Everything was so real to her. It even said that she experienced the pain of when one of her children passed away. And then she woke up, realizing that it was all just a dream, but the feelings remained as real as ever. So my question to you is, was it just a dream? Or is there another explanation? This channel, we've already talked about how reality is a field of infinite possibilities, and it's your awareness that travels these possibilities and gives you the illusion of experience.
Each one of these dots can be understood as a universe with you, some very similar to you now, some very different. Awareness is the vehicle that travels through them all. They just aren't being lived by your awareness right now. This unbroken chain of awareness would be understood as your life, your experience, your timeline. There are many others, and just because you don't experience them does not mean that they are not real. However, through things like altered states of consciousness, access to these different timelines, so to speak, to these seemingly far-off realities, become accessible to you, become accessible to your awareness. There's many different ways that you can access these altered states of consciousness. The Gateway Tapes has one, it's called Focus 21. It's the bridge to other realities. Near-death experiences, that's definitely an altered state of consciousness. Meditation is another way, so is astral projection. And in addition to that, this coma, okay, that she was in. Information is already there, okay? It's just a matter of whether you are perceiving it or not. Now, this brings up some questions about what makes something real. What makes one experience more real than another? Why do we hold physical reality as the dead end, as the standard for all things real? In those 3 weeks, that woman experienced 7 years. She was 19. That's more than a third of her life. She came back with very real emotions from an experience. And those emotions will have a lasting effect on her, her character development, and the trajectory of her life. So I ask you again, was it real or not? Maybe we need to adjust our understanding of what real even is in the first place. This brings up yet another question. What is consciousness and where does consciousness come from? Because if we take the mainstream understanding of consciousness, that consciousness is produced by the brain, and that means any of these experiences that we have are simply hallucinations, meaningless figments of our imagination. But we understand something a little bit different than that. And it's something that aligns with what the ancients have known for thousands of years, that we live within an intelligent system, that the system itself, reality itself, is conscious, is consciousness. And within this context, the brain isn't something that creates consciousness. It's the interface for infinite consciousness. The brain takes a signal and collapses it into something that has meaning, something that we can interact with. Perhaps in that way, the brain is a quantum computer, but not a computer that's creating multiple different scenarios and realities at the same time, but reducing them down to one thing. Now I'm just thinking freely here, but what do you think? What's real to you? Is reality the things that we can feel, see, and touch? Is reality the things that we feel inside? Is reality the things that we think in our head? Or is reality a blend of all of those? And what if one day you wake up and realize that the past 18, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years have just been a dream? Was it real? Is this real right now? If you wake up, where are you going to be? Who are you, really? You're not stuck in this reality, but you are aligned with it. A multiverse of infinite potentiality. You occupy this one, and within a sea of possibilities, everything you ever could or would be already exists. But what anchors you to this one is your awareness. It doesn't mean that you can't experience the version of you that you want. Here's the thing. In the comments, I've seen a lot of people say things like, well, where is my reality where I have a bunch of money? Where is that reality at, and why am I not in that right now? You guys are going to have to take some accountability for that. Is that reality you want lined up with what you're living right now? Let's say you wanted to be a championship fighter, okay? But you've never threw a punch in your life, all right? That reality that you're imagining would be very far from you. And at this point, it just comes down to physics. You can look at it like this. Every reality would have their own individual energy signature. You can express this as a wavelength, a frequency, okay? Say this is your current frequency, and the signature, the frequency of the reality that you want may look like this. So then I ask you, what is the difference between this and this? Yes, this is a higher frequency, which requires more energy. Because you're not going to go to sleep one day and wake up in that reality. If that was the case, you would have done it already. Now, that energy is expressed in 2 ways. The mental energy required for visualization. This is the first step, okay? Visualization acts like a GPS within an infinite sea of possibilities. It sets the beacon there and says, I want to go there. But there's another side of this. The second type of energy needed to get there is action. This is directed action in alignment with your ultimate vision. Sure, we know your mind can affect circumstance, but that's not enough. Good luck wishing becoming a championship fighter. Good luck only wishing that and not taking any action. It's not going to happen. And this is the part that most people don't want to hear. You need a clear goal, a clearly visualized goal with aligned action. And before you know it, you are going to to travel, okay, into the reality that you want. Here's the freaky part. Notice all these things that you're traveling through. You can see these as different universes. There's the one that you left behind, okay? Now you've turned this sea of potentiality into experience. And what does this look like in your life? This looks like circumstances changing. All of a sudden, certain things are falling into your life, falling out of your life. And it's all in accordance with what was aligned. That's the anchor, okay? Awareness is the vehicle that you drive through the sea of potentiality. Attention and intention is your GPS. The path is experience. And the energy is your visualization, your actions, and your willpower.
I wonder why in the theory with quantum immortality, why you can't just pass away and wake up rich. Well, there's a theory with timeline shifting that it requires closeness, and if you aren't already close to being rich in this reality that we're in, there's no way that you're going to pass away and wake up rich in the next one. So with that being said, let's dive a little bit deeper into it. In this theory, reality is constantly splitting, and every decision you make creates an alternate timeline. So like that job that you didn't take, somewhere you did, but we gotta focus in on alignment. Think about it like you standing in the middle of millions of possible versions of your life. All it takes is for you to align with the right version. So there might be a timeline where you're rich, where you're famous, where you live in another country, or where you never met certain people, or you met the right people. But the thing is, the decisions you make either push you closer to or further away from it. So basically, if you want to reach a certain timeline, then you got to start making decisions that will align you with that timeline. Like that the you in that timeline would make to get you there. Because if reality does split in every choice, then there is certainly a timeline where you are exactly what you want to be. You just got to put yourself in transition to get there. So if you could align with any version of your life, what would it look like? Tell me in the comments.
If you're someone that gets overwhelmed when discussing topics that involve death, I suggest you to click off this video. Many of us are already informed on quantum jumping, parallel universes, shifting realities, and timelines. But have you ever heard of quantum immortality? It is the idea that your consciousness shifts into an alternate universe or reality when faced with impending doom. Now, your mind crosses or shifts into this alternate state to keep living, although there may be subtle changes, which comes about into the Mandela effect. Many quantum physicists actually believe that's the result to the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is when you remember something from your past being one way and is now different in the present. Quantum immortality leans on the idea of parallel realities. So for every change or decision that you make, there's an alternate world that lives for those choices that you make. Now, it can be creepy because for every subtle change that you experience from the Mandela effect, it means that you do not actually exist in this reality, and your physical self has probably died a countless amount of times, but your consciousness isn't allowing yourself to accept this reality. This means that your friends and family are not really your friends and family. Now let me explain. The people that you have cared for and have loved are living in different versions of reality before you died and shifted into this one. Now, you may very well have these people in your life, but you are now living with different versions of them.
I had an out-of-body experience that originally I thought that I had accidentally astral traveled, and then I found out what quantum immortality was, and now there's all these videos about how when you go to sleep and you dream that your consciousness disconnects from this reality and it has these little glimpses into your other parallel reality, like everything having to do with like the whole multiverse theory. But when I had this out-of-body experience where I originally thought that maybe I had accidentally astral traveled, I came out of my body. I was taking a nap before my second shift, and I literally just popped out of my body, and then I was put into like what felt like a holding area where there were other souls. And I remember I even saw a room at my job in my soul body, in my astral body, before I saw it in my physical body, that was the trippiest shit I've ever experienced. But then when I was in this holding area where there were other souls or whatever was happening there, I was being sucked back into my body, and at first it felt like I was falling really fast, and then it felt like a vacuum, like I was being sucked back into my body. So when I landed on my body, it took a few minutes before I can actually move, because I felt extremely heavy and everything was just vibrating. And that was the most insane experience that I've ever had. And the reason why I thought that maybe I had accidentally astral traveled is because I was going through a spiritual awakening. That was during the beginning of my spiritual awakening. So I kind of knew what astral traveling was. I didn't know what quantum immortality was until the pandemic happened, TikTok happened, and then all these videos started popping up about quantum immortality, which now that I think about it, my experience aligns best with the whole quantum immortality theory, and it aligns best with the whole the dreams or windows into whatever parallel realities. And the reason that I believe that is because that same week that I had that out-of-body experience, or the next week, excuse me, I had an extremely vivid dream that I was hovering over my own casket. I was in my own funeral, and I remember I could feel my mom, like, she was just crying, and it was sad. And I remember that I woke up crying, and it was such a vivid dream that I was literally crying. Like, I was in my own funeral. That I thought it was a premonition or something. Like, bitch, am I about to fucking die? And now there's all this information about, you know, the dream state and how it might be your consciousness is connecting from this reality and taking these little glimpses into your parallel realities. It's insane, because unless you've had a crazy experience, or unless you understand like spirituality, I feel like you would think that like quantum immortality and the whole dream state thing is woo-woo, or that it's, you know, crazy. People just being crazy. And it really makes you think, because there's also these videos that I just so happened to come across where people are talking about that they were driving and they were about to have a car accident, and somehow they ended up somewhere else alive. Like, there's so many people who have these crazy experiences that it's like, you can't, like, we can't all just be crazy. I doubt that.
This is a quantum world of illusion, folks. None of this stuff is real in the way that you think it is, and that includes death. Death is also a part of the illusion. What you think that you're seeing with your two eyes when you see someone passing away is nothing but ones being dissolved into zeros. But you don't see is that one will once again reemerge from that 0 point. But let me break this down to you a little bit further. One is you. It is your state of being. It is your I am. It is everything that you're holding within your heart vibrationally. 0 is the void. It is a point of potential in which all things emerge from. It is the womb of life. When a person passes away, for example, a person's walking down the street and then bam, all of a sudden they get hit by a vehicle, taking them out. What happens is that they're taking their vibration, and they're casting it inside of the void, giving the void instruction in order to recast them back into this world right here. And this happens instantaneously, in a moment, in the flickering of the eye. They will not even perceive their own death, because their brain will create a scenario in which they survive that incident. This is a quantum world, and you have quantum immortality on your side.
And we're back yet again. So today I just wanted to quickly talk about quantum immortality. You know, this is something that you may have heard about, so let's talk about it. As always, this video will be for entertainment purposes only. This is my opinion. Please do not mess with my video. If you enjoy content like this, be sure to like, share, and follow. Quantum immortality is a thought experiment suggesting that an observer will never experience their own unaliving, because according to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, the universe constantly splits into multiple realities where all possible outcomes occur. In this framework, while a person might be unalived in one timeline, their consciousness persists only in the branches where they survive, meaning they subjectively experience an infinite chain of lives. The concept originated from the quantum self-deletion thought experiment, famously explored by physicist Max Tegmark in the late 1990s, which builds on Hugh Everett III's 1957 proposal of the many worlds interpretation. The theory posits that in a scenario involving a life-threatening quantum event, like a weapon that fires based on a quantum particle state, the experimenter will only ever perceive the outcomes where they survive, effectively rendering them immortal from their own perspective. However, this does not mean that the physical body is indestructible. Rather, the subjective experience of unaliving is impossible, because the version of the observer that becomes unalive ceases to exist and cannot observe its own end. So it's like pretty much anyone that's had a near unaliving experience, even myself, I've had one. I was in the 8th grade. We went to it was this one like castle place. It was like a castle. It was like a big outdoors place, and it was a bunch of woods. So we were out in the woods, hiking, and we was on this cliff, and it was like a a small like incline. So you had to kind of slowly go down the incline, and there was no rail at the end of it. You could fall off the cliff. So I came down the incline a little too fast and was about to fall off the cliff, and one of my classmates held their arm out, and he didn't even like me, you know what I mean? And he saved me. His name was Nick. He saved me, and I thanked him. It was kind of crazy, and I always kind of go back to it. And maybe there was another timeline where he didn't save me, and I doubt I would have survived if I would have fell off these things, you know, so that's my example. But, you know, long story short, you know, there is a version of me that fell off that cliff and that didn't survive. But, you know, I don't remember that because my consciousness, you know, could have switched over to the timeline where he held his arm out and I did survive. And, you know, little choices, you know, that seem little, such as going to Starbucks or maybe going to Dunkin' can send you down a whole different timeline. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Despite its theoretical appeal, the idea faces significant scientific and philosophical criticism. Critics argue that consciousness is a physical phenomenon tied to a specific brain state in a single branch, meaning it cannot jump to other universes. You know, I would have to disagree. You know, it's my opinion, TikTok, that I think that it's more to it than that. Like, we experience something that appears to be physical, but it may just all be energy, you know what I mean? And, you know, we think we feel something, but do we really? Is it just our brain telling us that we do? You know what I mean? But I think everything is energy, and energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transferred. Furthermore, the theory struggles to account for physical decay and aging, as well as the gradual loss of consciousness in slow unalivings, which could fracture the continuity of self. Now, there's a couple different theories for this. Now, for one, I am of the belief that eventually you do hit a certain point where your consciousness can't go into that aging body. So I would think it would flip back to when you was born and just go in a loop. Or it could take you to a timeline where they found a way to make people live forever. You know what I mean? So there is kind of ways to kind of explain the aging part, you know, once you hit a certain age, if you really think about it, but, you know, I digress. While the many worlds interpretation supports the mathematical possibility of quantum immortality, the theory remains unproven and is widely considered a speculative interpretation of quantum mechanics rather than an established fact. So a couple things to note is subjective immortality. You know, the observer always finds themselves in a timeline where they are alive, even if the probability of survival in any single trial is infinitesimally small. Multiverse dependency, the theory relies entirely on the validity of the many worlds interpretation, which is not universally accepted in the physics community. Practical risk. Some analysis suggests that if true, quantum immortality could lead to infinite suffering in timelines where the observer survives but is severely injured or incapacitated. Now, this is like some evil genius stuff. You know, if they found a way to keep us trapped in here, to constantly torture us in order to absorb our loosh, as they call it, or, you know, anytime we have an emotion, it gives off energy, whether it's happiness, sadness, grief, whatever, it gives off an energy. And allegedly there are certain entities, I guess, in the fourth dimension, or a dimension that we can't see, that is allegedly eating this energy. So now I think it's time for us to take a look at the many different movies and television shows that have involved some type of version of the quantum immortality theory. Several films and series explicitly or implicitly explore quantum immortality and the related quantum self-unaliving thought experiment. The 2016 sci-fi Paradox centers on a physicist who builds a quantum self-deletion machine to traverse parallel universes to find an alternate version of his deceased wife. The 2009 drama Mr. Nobody is frequently cited as a direct depiction of the concept, following the last mortal on Earth as he navigates multiple divergent life paths. Other media incorporate these themes through the many worlds interpretation or time loop mechanics, such as the Netflix series Russian Doll, which features a protagonist trapped in a time loop that mirrors quantum immortality. The Devil's Hour and the book Recursion by Blake Crouch are noted for dealing with similar concepts. The series Devs is also recommended for its exploration of many worlds theory and deterministic outcomes. So there's been many other examples of the quantum immortality theory that I haven't, you know, covered in this video. But as always, I would love to know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that the quantum immortality theory could be plausible? As always, this video was for entertainment purposes only. This is my opinion. Please do not mess with my video. And if you enjoy content like this, be sure to like, share, and follow. But only if you're interested, because you never want to miss anything.
I believed in quantum immortality, but now having experienced what I experienced this morning, I 100% believe in quantum immortality at this point. If you don't believe in quantum immortality, it just means that if you died in this, you know, universe, you just live in another one. I think I experienced that this morning. Yeah. So I got off the bus and I saw on the other side of the street the bus that I needed to get. It was at the stoplight. And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get there. So I'm a millennial. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to look left, right, and then left, and then right again. If it's a major street, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. The light is red. I have my running shoes on. And let me tell you this, okay? Yesterday I was reading the Kybalion, and I was reading about cause and effect. This morning, something told my spirit, wear your running shoes. These, okay? These are my Asics Gel X, right? I have another pair at home that it's slightly uncomfortable. I can't really run in it as well as I can in these, obviously, because these are literally running shoes. Those shoes are more leisure, so I couldn't run in them. Something told me in my spirit, wear my running shoes. These running shoes. They're really springy, you know, they get you really propelled forward, right? The light is fucking red, okay? I got my running shoes on, I tighten on my backpack, and I'm running, right? Usain Bolt in that bitch, okay? Not too much now, because I still got, you know, the postpartum ankles, so it's still kind of weak, okay? The light, I know the light is red. I know the light is red because I know I'm not stupid enough to run across the street when the light is green. I'm a millennial. I got 2 babies at home. Bitch, I'm very aware of my surroundings, okay? This random white car comes out of nowhere to my right. And I'm not entirely sure what happened in that moment. But as I'm thinking back to it now, I really can remember counting the steps to the point of when I saw the vehicle and something in my spirit stopped me. Because I was like, oh, I think I can make it. No, stop. And I did. In a different universe, my hubris could have gotten the best of me and I wouldn't have been at work. They would have called my man right now, talking about I'm in the hospital, broken a leg or some shit like that, thinking that I can run across that street. I know for a fact, right in that moment, I split into 2 persons right then. The surviving person, the one that's alive right now, and that other person who's either injured or has, I don't know. But I believe in quantum immortality right now. I believe that shit. Because, and it's strange too. In that moment, you would assume that my heart would be racing, and it wasn't. I was so sure of this feeling to tell me to stop. I did. And the car just swung around me. It's crazy. Because I feel hopeful. I'm more aware. I'm more alert. Man, the sun feels good. I'm grateful. That's what it is.
So when I got into my car accident, I was driving on a back road in Florida. I crashed into a bear and I'm almost positive I died. What I genuinely think happens is that we just keep going on, and that when we die in one timeline, we basically don't exist here, but our soul travels to another timeline. Let me explain. I already have the story pinned about what happened to me when I was in my car wreck. But basically, I knew that I passed away, and I know it sounds crazy, but the world is crazy when we're spoon-fed lies all of our entire life. Like, when shit happens that can't be explained, people are so quick to call you crazy. Personally, didn't know that so many people didn't know about quantum immortality. There's also a couple of really good shows to watch if you want to educate yourself on it a little bit more to see kind of like what I'm talking about. There's a Black Mirror episode that you have to see. It's like an interactive one. It's called Bandersnatch. Basically, he's tripping with his friend, and one of the friends like ends up himself, and basically what he was trying to say is like, no, it's fine, like we just keep going on. We basically like, there's always going to be a version of yourself that like survives it. And then check out the OA. I don't know if it's still on Netflix because I know that they had to like cancel the show, but that is a really good like way to see what quantum immortality is about. It almost makes you wonder if they never wanted to tell you like what actually happens after you die, because essentially that would mean like you don't have to be scared of anything, and that basically you can do everything that you want to do and live life with no fears, because I mean you just keep going on and on. So essentially we are God.
These are 3 of my most favorite quantum leaping movies to watch. If you haven't watched them, get your popcorn and start watching. The reason why I'm talking about movies before I get into the 3 is because when you have movies that can reiterate your power, right? Your supernatural power, the power that we all have within us. It actually, your time spent looking at this and being like, wow, this is interesting, is also shifting your viewpoint of that you're a weak, lowly human because you are divinity in the body. So the first movie that I absolutely love is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. In this movie, you learn about like the quantum jumping, and you learn about the multiple worlds theory, and that there's different versions of you doing this and doing that. And you also see the character come into her own power. And so I love that. The next movie, The OA. If you have not seen the series The OA on Netflix, what have you been doing with your life? It is a 2-parter, I believe. I double check. I think it's a 2-parter. And it is so good. It shows about embodiment. And yes, they have these moves that help them go into like another reality, or, you know, shifting their timelines. But it's a slow burn in the beginning. Stay with it. It really shows about embodiment and timelines, and how shifting that has a lot to do with this. Number 3, Sense 8. What I love about Sense 8 is it shows the interconnectivity between individuals, between like all of these people that are all over the world, and they're all connected in with their superpowers. And so in Sense 8, there's a collective consciousness, there's a collection, and the identity is not an individual identity, it is a collective identity, and manifestation and creation happens in the collective. And so I love these 3 movies. Grab your popcorn, sit and watch it with consciousness, watch it with awareness, watch it with curiosity, and watch things in your life start shifting because you're going to start looking at things differently.
Initiate drive sequence.
Them say, who God bless, no man curse. Me I forgive thanks, come up past the worst. No hands out, come up put in the work. And anything we do, we have to put God first. So please, when you see me I beg you don't pre me. Come and go for what me want, it's not easy. Never beg a soul, it's not the needy. Boots pan ground like a iron worker. Red eye for people think that someone heard of. And if you touch what's nice, them all out murder. Murderer, blood is on my shoulders. Kill you today, you cannot kill me tomorrow. No. Life's about choices. So cut them off, cut them across it. Real bad girl in a life this. No time for waste of my time this.